Go ahead and say it again.
What are your true thoughts about people like me?
So the question is about our homeless community, our unhoused community. One of the things that we need to realize about our unhoused community is that I like to think of it as a problem, as an issue that can be broken down into three phases. We have those people that are recently unhoused, which makes up about 70%. Then we have this intermittent unhoused, which is about another 10%. And then we have the chronically unhoused, which is about 15%. It's those chronically unhoused that actually take up 60% of the resources that our government sets aside to deal with this issue. We have to focus on a housing first model that provides housing for people first. Maslow, my wife tells me all the time in nursing, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight, I can't worry about anything else. If I don't know what I'm going to eat, I can't worry about anything else. And that's what we need to do to focus and address this issue. A Medicare for All system, thank you, Morgan. A Medicare for All system also helps with that issue. System. The United States government spends $25,000 to $45,000 per year per person on our chronically unhoused. That is a lot of money. They're using resources like hospital visits. We have our policing. That's all funds that come from you and I, that if we had a system that we took care of these folks, that's a cost savings that we can have. Any other questions?
Filibuster.
All right, with that, I'm going to invite our next speaker to come up.
Oh, Karen had a question.
Oh, Karen.
Where do we sign up to knock on doors?
If you want to knock on doors to get involved with the campaign, my wife has a lovely sign-in sheet. Make sure that you sign in, and we will get you checked in with the campaign. You can also go on to LourinHubbard.com, and we'll get you squared away there as well. So our next speaker coming up is a gentleman, and I remember seeing his flyers around town, and one of those guys that has been a part of the progressive movement, especially here in Fresno, when it was not popular to be. A guy that is focused on the issues and knows them forwards and backwards, Mr. Rico Franco. Please come up and say a couple words.
All right, I see a lot of faces here that I don't know, and that is a very, very good thing. So okay, applause, a show of hands. How many of you are from Fresno? How many of you live in the district, CD22? Awesome. How many of you live in the district in Tulare County? Drew, shout out. Let's see. How many of you were born and raised in Fresno? Awesome. Before Lourin's campaign, how many of you have ever donated to a campaign before? How many of you have ever volunteered for a campaign, texting or phone banking? How many of you have ever walked in the Central Valley for a campaign as a volunteer, knocking on doors? There's my superstars right there, right? I am part of the Democratic Party now here locally and with the state, and this is something that you have to realize. The work that Lourin is going to be doing is hard, and you have to do it with him if you want change.
That's right.
Like he mentioned, it's hard being part of the progressive movement. It's hard being someone with melanated skin living in Northeast Fresno the way I do. It's even harder when you come out as a progressive, a melanated person, and you are all over the news, and people know exactly who you are. But I'll tell you something. Not too far from here, in Dinuba, California, see, this is great, most of you don't know because you haven't heard the story yet. There was a little brown girl in the 1950s. She went to school. And they asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She told the counselor, well, I would like to be a psychiatrist, maybe go to college. And they looked at me and said, no, mija, you don't go to college. Number one, you're a woman. Number two, you're brown. What you should probably do is take some typing courses now that women are starting to work, and maybe you can become a secretary one day. Years later, in 2014, that little brown woman retired as Director Emeritus of Admissions at Fresno State. Over 120,000 students from Fresno State went in there, have their signature on their acceptance letter. Fresno State is now 53% Latino in a community that is 54% Latino. And I know this story so intimately because that woman was Vivian Franco, my mother. She did go to college in the EOP program. She went to the newest UC there was at the time, at UC Santa Cruz, and her job in the EOP program was to look at the enrollments in college at that time. California, I believe, was something like 50% Latino, or something like that. We were less than 3% of all college students, but Latinos were 25% of all Vietnam dead. The census did not have Hispanic or Latino on it at that time. So her job was to literally look every week as the names came back of all Vietnam dead. And in doing so, found out not only these statistics, but ran across the names of two of her best friends from Dinuba High School. As she went to UC Santa Cruz and my father was at UC Berkeley, it was almost like a ritual. A couple times a month on the weekends, their friends getting drafted from here to Central Valley would go with them. They would party for the weekend, and then on Sunday from Alameda, they would get shipped off to Vietnam, some to never ever come back. That's what led her into the field of higher education, where she had worked in admissions and enrollment for over 35 years to actually create change. The reason I tell you this story is because, not because she's some extraordinary woman, I think she is, she's one of my heroes, but because it's a normal, commonplace story. My great-grandparents crossed the border from Mexico to the United States in 1912, here to Fresno. In 1920, on the west side in St. Alphonsus Church, they held the funeral for my great-grandmother. 100 years later, at that same church, last year, we had my father's funeral. My roots here run deep, and yours do too. Whether you've been here for 100 years, 1 year, or 1 month, what you have to realize is that being a part of something bigger than yourself will be the most rewarding thing possible. So when it's hot like this and you gotta wear a suit, it's worth it in the end, right? When people tell you you can't do something because you're brown or because you're a woman, no, you go and you do it anyways. When someone tells you you cannot win as a progressive in a Republican district, you go out there and you prove them wrong anyways. Because you're fighting a good fight. John Lewis told you to get into good trouble. In the early 1970s, they tried to cancel the La Raza Studies program. Now we know it as ethnic studies at Fresno State. And what happened? The blacks and the Mexicans bombed the computer center. During the Vietnam draft, EOP brought in more blacks and Mexicans accepted into Fresno State. And when they went to enroll into courses at Fresno State, the white students told them they were inciting a riot. And then the sheriff's deputies would arrest them for inciting a riot. They could not enroll into classes. The white students were. The white students are now enrolled. They get a deferment from the draft, and the blacks and the Mexicans are shipped off into Vietnam. So what happened? When they were planning that morning in the gymnasium, my father locked them in there. People bombed Fresno State's computer center. People literally locked sheriff deputies in the gym there. And a lot of our own history that runs so deep over here, we don't even know. If you are from Fresno, you live in the most segregated large city in the entire United States due to redlining. Why is it that I, going to Clovis West, was able to graduate with 14 AP courses when 5 miles down the road, they don't even offer 5 AP courses? The inequalities in this town can be felt all around the country. So you need to step up. And I'm encouraging you to never give up the fight. I was in this race, just like Lauren said, I lost the race, but I kept my promise to never ever stop fighting. That's why I'm still part of the Democratic Party. That's why I see my brothers and sisters here doing the same thing. And I am so encouraged to see new faces as well. So please get involved in this race, make change in your community, and don't you ever stop fighting or giving up. Because I'll tell you one thing right now. Even though my mother's retired, she has not stopped fighting either. My father's gotten kicked out of the governor's office as president of his union, fighting for rights of his union members and winning multi-million-dollar lawsuits against Governor Pete Wilson at the time. And he never stopped fighting either. When you are an activist, you're an activist for the rest of your life. There is no retirement from this at all. You have some superstar volunteers around here. Let them show you how it works if you need any guidance. But the most important thing is that we are all in this together. We are all going to support each other together. We are going to create change, not just here for the Valley, but for the entire country. Don't let anybody tell you different. The waves of change are on our side. We know it. We are correct. Don't let the other minorities with their Trump parades and their little trucks running around try and make you tell something different. You are the future. You are the present. Go out there and make it happen. Promise me that, okay?
Rico, give it up again for him, man. That was awesome. All right. I think this is my son, Aram. This is why we work so hard right here. Up next for the stage, we have Drew Phelps, who was a community leader in Tulare. Worked for 2 years to save Tulare's public hospital from corrupt leaders. He later ran to represent Assembly District 26 against Dirty Kevin Mathis in 2020 and came closer to victory than any Democrat ever had in that district. Y'all give it up for Drew Phelps.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Juneteenth. I'm going to keep things really short because I know we all want to get on that sign-up list to go walk for Lauren. I know we all want to get our campaign signs. I know it's hot. We want to get another beer. So just want to say, first and foremost, why I support Lauren and how I came to that decision. I had seen a lot of stuff, right, on social media, had seen Lauren making some really inspiring statements, and I knew he had the big picture down. This is a guy who can, as we've seen today, really create a lot of flair. And so I knew that, but as myself, being a policy guy, as somebody in my campaign who was very focused on local issues, I wanted to see that there was substance to it. So I was really excited when Lauren gave me a call, asked me, you want to get some lunch, get some dinner. He earned a few points. He asked me to go to Mad Dog, which is where I had my first date with my beautiful girlfriend. So we got a little bit there. But in all seriousness, we heard the same thing today from Lauren on policy, on the substance that I heard at that dinner. Whether it's talking about access to healthcare, access to good quality education, workforce training, clean drinking water, a huge issue in our community. It was all the same stuff I was talking about in my campaign and that we have all in this room been so focused on for so many years. And then you look at the alternative. You look at who's in office right now. And he is someone who's not focused on those issues. Not only does he not share the values that we all share in common, he doesn't even have the policy interest of the select few within our district in mind. He's out fighting these hyper-partisan battles that don't even represent the folks in his district. More than half the time, he won't even meet with folks in his own district. And so, as I see it, the contrast between what we have now and between Lauren Hubbard could not be greater. What we've seen though, we've had campaigns that have laid fantastic groundwork in this district. We've seen so much change, so much progress over the years. But what we've seen is that contrast, the difference between, me as a candidate and Devin Nunes, that's not what's gonna inspire the voters in this district. They need more than that. They need somebody who can get people excited, who can speak to the issues that folks are facing every single day, and most importantly, inspire folks to get out and vote. And so what I saw in my conversation with Lourin and what we've seen today, we know that Lourin is going to speak to those issues. He's going to inspire those folks and get them out to the polls. And so that's why I support Lourin. Now, I would like to tell a personal story, and it's going somewhere. But not too many folks know. I attend the same church as Devin Nunes. I see him there every now and again. And my grandfather, someone who's not with us anymore, this was a few years ago, someone well respected in the community, was a former mayor in Tulare, had served in all 4 branches of the armed forces, a longtime dentist in town, had a lot of respect with a lot of folks. And we saw Devin one time at church, and he came up to my grandpa after Mass, and he said, you know, it's really nice to see you, Dr. Drilling, and you know, I think things are going really well. And my grandpa said, yeah, you know, it was 2016, right, or 2017, right after Trump had been elected. He said, yeah, you know, Devin, I see you're doing a lot of stuff out there in Washington. And he left it at that. And Devin said, yeah, and it's all good. And my grandpa, a man of few words, but he would tell you like it is, he said, you know, Devin, I don't think so. 94-year-old man just said, Devin, I don't think so, and he just kept walking past him. And so the reason I tell that story is because as such an important figure in my life, I look so often, especially in political decisions, to what my grandpa would have been proud of. Someone who speaks truth to power, who tells it like it is, and I really feel that my grandpa will be proud of me, will be proud of all of us for supporting a man like Lourin Hubbard.
Yes.
And I know events like this are really inspiring. You know, we see all these folks out here. It's a great energizer. We get the motivation up and going. We want to get out there. But that's what you got to do. And that's what my grandpa would really be proud of, is going out, knocking on those doors, making those phone calls. Amen. You know, putting your money where your mouth is too. After I had that conversation with Lourin, I pledged $250 to his campaign. And I'm not gonna hold anybody to it right now, but if we can get 5 folks out there who haven't already given to Lourin to pledge $100 after I get done speaking, I'll match that and up my contribution to $500. So, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta make sure Lourin gets elected, and let's go do it. Let's fight that fight.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, so thank you all for coming out today. Thank you to our speakers, of course, Gordy, Karen, Yennefer, Rico, and of course, Drew as well. And of course, thank you to Lourin Hubbard. Man. Give it again for Lourin Hubbard. All right. Before we disperse, if we could, please have a group photo right here in front of the stage. My man Lourin Hubbard looking at the debonair as he does, sir. I mean, everybody in front, man. Family